So let's not beat around the bush. The Game Awards were basically really disappointing for Nintendo fans. I don't know whether it's the Game Awards just not having any announcements, or Nintendo fans having their expectations way too high just because of the last couple of years. It was actually probably a combination of the two. Whatever it ended up being, most Nintendo fans are not satisfied with what we did get at the Game Awards. Basically, just to reiterate, we got a Bravely Default the second trailer announcement, which is a pretty big deal, but that's also the only big deal, because besides that, we just got another No More Heroes 3 trailer, which is obviously a game we already knew about, and a Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 DLC announcement, which, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think anyone really cares about. However, just because we didn't get a lot of information, shown to us, doesn't mean that there's not some information we can't discern from the Game Awards. In fact, by not telling us stuff, the Game Awards actually did kind of give us some information in a way, and we're going to talk about that right now. So what's going on, guys? It's Thomas from the Switch Stop, and I'm joined by PJ.
And today we're going to be talking about what we actually learned from the Game Awards not telling us anything at all about Smash Bros. DLC. So obviously, as we said in our intro here, there was nothing announced and no Smash character announced. It was actually very expected that there was going to be a Smash character during the Game Awards, considering last year around the same time they announced the first character for the Fighters Pass, which was Joker. So a lot of people thought it was a really good storyline to start the Fighter Pass being announced at the Game Awards and ending it a whole year later, getting this fifth character. And personally, I was hoping for Sora, but obviously that did not happen. So at this point, we kind of have to wonder, when is this character going to be announced? Because the end date for the Fighter Pass is it has to be done by February 2020. There's a lot of possibilities and a lot of times that this last character could be announced.
So by not showing off Fighter Pass 5 in the Game Awards, we're obviously basically confirmed that it'll be in a Nintendo Direct. However, when this Nintendo Direct will be is somewhat up in the air. A lot of people have been talking about a December Direct, but I personally do not see that happening at all. I really feel like Nintendo's not going to want to announce any games right before the holidays, because that would be kind of pointless. Their main goal for the holidays is to get people to buy their games, and being like, hey, you could buy our games, but there's going to be a lot of cool games coming off in the horizon. I don't know, that just doesn't really make sense, and Nintendo's never really done that before, ever, so yeah, I just don't really see a December Direct happening. January, though, is by far the most likely if you ask me, just because they pretty much always do that, and last year, obviously, they had a February Direct, but that made sense given that they didn't want to announce Super Mario Maker 2 in January because Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe also came out in January, and that just would be kind of dumb on Nintendo's part. So if you ask me, a January Direct is where we're going to get this now that, it didn't come out in the Game Awards.
But at the same time, a January Direct might not make a lot of sense because, as we know, Animal Crossing New Horizons comes out in March 2020, and I highly doubt they would want to do a Direct in February or March, even the month of the game being released. So honestly, I even thought originally before the Game Awards even happened that the fifth character for the Fighter Pass would be announced at the Game Awards, and then an Animal Crossing Direct would be in January, and then you could maybe have a regular Nintendo Direct in February just for obviously announcing new games for the year along with Fighter Pass 5. So I think that might be the most likely scenario that we have here, but at the same time, not announcing the character at the Game Awards is a little problematic, at least for me, because as we said here, the cutoff date is February 2020, so I'm just not really sure what they're going to do because, again, as I said earlier, that perfect storyline starting at the Game Awards and ending at the Game Awards a whole year later was kind of ruined and did not happen as we saw this year.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Animal Crossing does kind of throw a wrench into this speculation. Basically, my take on it is I feel like we're going to get a January Direct where Nintendo talks about games that will be coming out this year, and we will probably get a Animal Crossing trailer in that. And then I do believe in February we will probably get an Animal Crossing Direct. While it is kind of close to March, which is obviously when Animal Crossing is coming out, Animal Crossing is coming out at the end of March, and I feel like they'll probably want to actually have that Direct kind of close to Animal Crossing so the hype will carry over into its release. However, we really don't know exactly when that'll happen. All we know is that Fighter Pass 5 will pretty much definitely be in a direct now, which is kind of common knowledge, but it's just good to get that confirmation after the Game Awards. So another thing that the Game Awards kind of soft deconfirmed, at least in my opinion, is Breath of the Wild releasing in 2020. That sounds like a huge stretch, but hear me out. Breath of the Wild 2 releasing in 2020 is something obviously I think everyone wants. However, it doesn't seem likely now because we know nothing about it. We saw that first trailer, E3 of 2019 obviously, and we didn't see anything else since then. However, if it is going to come out in 2020, obviously it would be late 2020, I'm thinking November or December. With a game that's literally the sequel to one of the best games of all time, Nintendo's obviously going to want to hype this game up. It's going to be their big seller for the holidays, their biggest game of the year. That's the type of thing that they would have wanted to show off at the Game Awards. In 2017, Breath of the Wild's DLC was kind of shadow dropped at the Game Awards, which shows that Nintendo understands that, hey, this is the exact type of audience that would care about this sort of thing. As opposed to some of their other franchises like Mario, Zelda is something that more, I guess, hardcore gamers would care about, and Breath of the Wild 2, which is a sequel to one of the most universally acclaimed games of all time, would be the perfect thing to get a very brief trailer at the Game Awards. I feel like since they didn't show something off at the Game Awards, that means that they just don't have anything to show off at the moment, which means we won't get any Breath of the Wild news at the start of this year, so the next time we'd see it would probably be E3 2019. I really don't think they're going to let what is probably their biggest game we know of, is like in development right now, get really 6 months of hype up time from, June of 2020, that E3, to if it potentially released in 2020, like December. It seems like a leap of logic, but I really think that Breath of the Wild not being shown off at the Game Awards does kind of soft confirm it to not be coming out in 2020.
And I agree with you. You're probably right. I mean, this game has the potential to be huge for Nintendo, as the first Breath of the Wild was the first 3D open world Zelda game. So obviously this is going to be a huge game, and I have no problem with waiting until even 2021 or 2022 for this game, because I just want it to be as perfect as possible. So the next time we could probably hear about this game is probably an E3 presentation sort of trailer, like you said, or I would even say we could hear about it in a possible October or November direct, something like that, in the end of 2020.
So basically, just to wrap everything up, by not really showing off anything at the Game Awards, us as Nintendo fans can inadvertently, I guess, infer that not only are we going to get a direct in January/very early February that will include both Animal Crossing and Fighter Pass 5 content, but Breath of the Wild 2 also probably, I don't want to say 100%, but probably will not be releasing in 2020, just because that would have been the perfect place to show it, and the fact that they didn't, points towards them either not being ready to release it or just not even having enough to show, which obviously does not bode well for those wanting that game to come out in 2020. But let us know what you guys think. Is there anything we said that you guys don't agree with in this video, or do you guys agree with us? Just let us know down in the comments below. It's an interesting topic and we'd love to get your take on it. Subscribe if you are new and enjoyed the video, and obviously if you want to follow us on all our social medias like Twitter and Discord, all the links will be down in the description.
And this is PJ from the Switch Shop.
And I'm Thomas from the Switch Shop, signing off. Peace.